to be back here again in this workshop, and welcome back everyone as well. I can see that there are still people joining in, but as it is 9:15, I believe it is a good time for us to start. So for those of you who were not able to attend yesterday, to let you know, my name is Sofia Nyemi. I come from EDUFI, the Finnish National Agency for Education, and today I will act and operate as a chairperson and a host in this workshop, just like yesterday. And let us see about today's program. Here, so today our topic is the continuous development work, monitoring and evaluation of the international policies. And this, as you heard yesterday, was implemented for a large part and is implemented for a large part in the Forum for Internationalization in Finnish Higher Education and Research. And today we have the pleasure of having various stakeholders here present, telling and reflecting how the work in the forum has been done and what are their thoughts on how this type of an organization works for monitoring and development purposes. And then in our first session today, we will have Teemu Kokko, the President and CEO of Haaga-Helia University of Applied Sciences, telling you about the work of the first international forum. And in the forum, Teemu was representing the Rectors' Conference of Finnish Universities of Applied Sciences, ARENE, and had a very big and important role as he acted as a chairperson both for whole of the forum and also for its secretariat. And we were supposed to have today then Anna Grönlund, the head of higher education policy at the Division of Policy and Strategic Planning from the University of Jyväskylä, telling about the second phase, the current phase of the international forum. And Anna's role in the forum has been representing the Forum for Universities Finland, and she's also, just like Teemu, has had a very active and important role in planning the work of the forum with colleagues from the ministry and stakeholders as well. Yet unfortunately, Anna is not able to attend today as she's lost her voice, and we have kindly already gotten the information that Teemu Kokko is flexibly and kindly promised to take over on Anna's part as well. And then after the first session of today, we will then have a possibility to hear perspectives of 4 stakeholders from the field of higher education and research, and also representatives of other ministries telling about their role in the work of the international forum, and also when it comes to implementing the policies for internationalization of higher education and research. And this, as it is, will be the program for today. So I believe we will have very many interesting talks, and also looking forward to your questions for today. But at this point, I would like to ask that, is there anything that you would like to check up from the audience, or do you feel that everything is clear and we are more or less ready soon to start off with today's workshop? No questions, so I assume that everything is rather clear. Everything is clear, thank you. And yesterday we were guiding you that for the most part we could have the questions after each session in the chat box, but We were quite flexibly turning this around a little bit yesterday, with also opening up the possibility for you to ask questions just by raising your hand and asking the speakers directly your questions. And at least in my opinion, this seemed to work very well. So we can surely continue with the same procedure today. So we let the speakers first tell what they have prepared, and after each speaker we can then open up the part for question and answers, and you can freely choose the mode which you want to present your questions to the speakers. And as we have a little bit time before starting off with our first speaker, I was wondering, Liika, do you want to open up and reflect a little bit how you found yesterday's program? Or is it a too-sudden question to present like this?
Well, I think it was very, very informative, very comprehensive. I have to say that we had also the other chats running, and participants were giving me constantly the feedback that they were very satisfied with the information provided. But of course, we also understand that our countries are very, very different. So your system is very much trust-based, whereas we live in very much control-based system right now. And I don't think that it will be easy for us to change very quickly. But I personally have a lot of messages taken, which we can use while developing our own strategy here, at least in the international part. It was also interesting to see how many questions were about funding model of Finnish higher education system and research, which was actually not the main topic of the webinar, but you can see that the funding is a very hot issue right now, and it will be also discussed internally here. And we also have taken a lot of interesting inspirations from the system, but again, we have to adapt everything to the Georgian reality. So in these terms, it was very informative because it was also done in a very, let's say, in a very relaxed way, but very, very comprehensive information. And we are all looking forward to get all the presentations, to go through the numbers once more and all the useful links. So I think it's a lot of work ahead of us to digest this information and to read again everything in a more, I mean, in personal space and with personal tempo. So I think it's definitely very useful. There's no doubt about it. So I'm very happy that these kind of expectations have been met. I'm really glad.
Yeah.
If anyone wants to add something, we still have time, so feel free.
Yes, please. Any comments are welcome. And it crossed my mind that we mentioned already yesterday some kind of additional material and surveys came up throughout the presentations, and we were already during the day discussing that we will provide you with any additional material that you find useful. And I think this the way to operate is that Liika can act as the contact person, and if you find that there was something perhaps missing or some kind of information that you wish to have more detailed kind of backgrounds or anything, so Liika can then provide us with your wishes and requests, and we will do our best to collect all the information.
For the attention of Georgian participants, what we usually do, once we get the information from you, the video and the presentations, we upload them on our website under news, and then we are also sharing it with social media. And if someone has trouble to find it, either on Facebook page or on our website, they can always contact me and I'll send the link directly. So that's always stored on our drive, and we all have that. So it's kind of working documents now for inspiration. Yeah. Thank you once more for this.
No problem at all. It's our pleasure, really. And this also is very interesting for us. I think these type of workshops, they are always kind of a learning process for both parts, I think, because it makes you kind of stop and reflect what you are doing, and you always learn from the questions that kind of people from the outside are asking, and it makes you think of your own process and what possibly could be improved or changed in it. So it's very useful.
I mean, for me also the main message was that how the system of higher education and research is working in Finland is reflecting the not only academic culture of the country, but the general culture of the country and work attitude and whatever. So we have a bit different reality. I'm not saying about what is better, what is worse, but we have to develop our own system here again to match the given conditions in the country.
Yes. Good. I can see that our first speaker, Teemu Kokko, he has been online since we started 9:15, but we can take a few minutes pause and upload Teemu's presentation, and time for everyone to fill in their water bottles and grab something to eat before we start, if you wish so. But we'll be starting officially 9:30, a few minutes, and then off we go.
Do you see the presentation?
Yes.
Good. Teemu, det är Kenneth här.
Bra.
Hör du, Sini blev utkastad från Teams för tillfället, så jag tar över det här, så jag säger, jag sköter nu den här PowerPoint.
Ja, jag säger alltid när du går vidare sen.
Japp.
Jag kommer att prata lite i början lite introducera och sånt, så att värmen får hållas, men det är bra.
Okej.
Jag sätter min kamera nu på, så att. IFK.
Du är i hallen igen.
Jag är i hallen. IFK vann ju 1-0 igår.
Ja, okej. Jag tittar på.
Jag var där förstås. Mellan 2 matcher.
Ja. Det är att prioritera.
Det är att prioritera. Sofia is counting the seconds.
Precisely. 30 seconds left.
Yes.
And it's time for you to start. There we go. So as said in the beginning, once more, I will shortly introduce our first speaker. So Teemu Kokko operates currently as the president and the CEO of Haaga-Helia University of Applied Sciences. And in the first forum, Teemu was a representative of the Rectors' Conference of Finnish Universities of Applied Sciences, ARENE, we call it in Finland. And as said, had a very important and big role and big tasks also in the first forum. And now we will have Teemu here telling us his impressions and about the work of the first forum. Please, Teemu, go ahead.
Thank you so much, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great pleasure for me to do my presentation. As Sofia mentioned, I have 2 roles today. I'm replacing Anna Gröndal, who unfortunately lost her voice. So first I play my male role, and after that I play my female role. But a couple of words about myself. As said, I'm the president and CEO of Haaga-Helia University of Applied Sciences, and my entire career has been in education. However, I have lived altogether 12 years abroad in different countries, and and during those times I have been working in different positions, but the major line in my career has been education, and I've been in this business for more than 30 years. It's a special pleasure for me to talk to Georgian people. My latest visit to Georgia was 2019, just before the pandemic, and it was not work related. I flew to Tbilisi, to a beautiful capital, and then from there, with my good friend, we drove to a village of Stepantsminda, and from Stepantsminda we walked to 3,100 meters to the Ortsveri glacier, and we could admire the beautiful mountain of Kazbeki. So we did some hiking, 8 hours up and 6 hours down, and a fantastic experience. And after that we had a fantastic dinner in Stepantsminda in a small restaurant, and had a possibility to enjoy the Georgian food and fantastic kakheti wines. So very pleasant memories from that. And then next day we drew back to Tbilisi, and then we had 2 days touristing and sightseeing in your beautiful and fantastic capital. So very warm and heartful memories from that. That yes, I will come again, definitely. And of course we have also been following your history and feel very strong for you as you are developing your country in a nice space. So very warm thoughts about Georgian people and Georgia as country. As you can see, I'm sitting in an ice hockey stadium. The reason for this is simply that it's now plus 20 degrees here in Helsinki. Sun is shining, and that's rather hot already for me. So a little bit to cool myself down, I have my favorite team in my background, and my colleagues have seen this picture now over a year. So I'm all the time sitting in ice hockey game and enjoying my favorite team to play. The topic of my presentation is supporting internationalization, and I will first tell about the first international forum and the background of that, but maybe the big picture is also very important to understand that Finland is a country totally dependent on export. Finland also geographically is like an island. You always have to specifically come to Finland. And this is something that people don't usually realize. So we are a little bit like an island in Europe. We are far away up in the north. So you have to have a reason to come to Finland. And we are actually quite large country by area. We are 5 times the size of the United Kingdom, but only 5.5 or 5.6 million people living here. And we are totally dependent on export. And for this reason, education has become even more important. It's not only that we want to develop our people, but it's part of the survival story of Finland, that we want to have skilled people to produce goods and services, and to be able to sell them, and in that way to maintain our good quality of living. As you know, education is extremely important. And mentally, I would say that regardless of any party or anything, education is very important in Finland, and we are ready to invest in that. And we also believe that competence and knowledge is the major core issue in the good future of Finland. So this is maybe the mental background that why politicians and other people started to talk about doing something to the internationalization. Before I tell about this first international forum, let me just very briefly tell something about my own university. Haaga-Helia, as it's called, actually is an end product of a merge that took place 2007. If you ever are interested hearing about university merges, you can contact me, because we used to have Haaga and we used to have Helia, and they were fierce competitors. And then 2006 in in January, our board started to discuss that maybe Haga and Helia could join, and believe it or not, but the merge was realized in 11 months. So 11 months later, there were not Haga and Helia, but there was Haga Helia, and we are extremely happy. So I can sometimes give you a lecture about that, but I can tell it's like a world record in merge. It's 11 months putting together two fierce competitors. At the moment, we have 11,500 students. The total staff is 650, approximately 400 teaching staff, and 250 is the supporting staff. We operate in 5 different campuses. 3 of them are located here in Helsinki, metropolitan Helsinki area. And then we have 2 campuses, one about 45 kilometers from Helsinki, and the other one, our sports campus, about 120 kilometers to the north of Helsinki. We have approximately 1,100 international students, and they represent 95 different nationalities. And if you ever come to Helsinki and to Finland and to Helsinki, you're always, of course, welcome to Haga Helia. If you would enter our campus, you would see a official diploma from the Guinness World Book of Records stating most nationalities at the same time in a sauna. So this achievement was reached a couple of years ago, and the figure was 101. As a matter of fact, we had 103 nationalities in a sauna, but Hong Kong and Kosovo were not counted as separate countries. So that's why the result was 101. So we are a national record holders at Haga Helia. We are a quite popular University of Applied Sciences. We have this year, for instance, we had 26,000 applicants altogether. And when you think that we altogether have 2,500 open study places, you understand that we have lots of applicants. And of course, there are great differences between the different programs. But in average, you could say that we have 3 to 5 applicants per study place, regardless what you study. Our mission is extremely simple. Usually it's said that the mission statement should always fit into a pen. So in that pen, we could have a very short text that Haga Helia opens doors to future careers, meaning that we do our uttermost to guarantee that our students have a working place as they graduate. And this is true for about 90% of our graduates. Then we have people continuing their studies, we have people establishing their own businesses, and then we have people leaving Finland and either working or studying abroad. But in any case, so the employability is on a very high level. This, of course, has a little bit with the fact to do that Helsinki region is growing, and there is a constant need of skilled people in Helsinki, and I think it's quite descriptive that Haga Helia has its own system providing, or own software for providing working places for our students. So our students have every day approximately 600 vacancies available for them, 600 working opportunities every single day open for our students. So there really is a lack of skilled people. Of course, during the pandemic, the situation has changed, but now we can see that the economy is starting to roll again. And as you may know, Finland has taken care of the corona situation quite skillfully, and the disease figures are quite low at the moment. Of course, we hope that this is the fact. And 40% of the Finns have already received the shot. So this looks quite okay. Our vision is to be a courageous and international reformer of business. The courageous means that we are ready to test even some silly things. We are ready to test new ideas. And then, of course, internationalization has a very important role in our our activities. And all our programs are provided and offered both in Finnish and in English. Our profile is our Ministry of Education expects that every university and University of Applied Sciences, they always define themselves by stating what's the profile of the university or the University of Applied Sciences. Haaga-Helia's profile consists of 4 cornerstones. We have service business, we have sales, we have entrepreneurship, and then we have higher education pedagogy. We run a program in vocational teacher education, and altogether in Finland we have 5 universities of applied sciences running these programs, and Haaga-Helia is one of them. As you may know, in order to work as a teacher in a University of Applied Sciences or on the secondary education, you have to have a pedagogical training, and this training is about 1.5 year training, and you can do it as you work. And if you don't have it, you have a lower salary. But we expect that every single lecturer has to have this training, and if there is a situation that you don't have it, then your salary is 7% less. What comes to our programs, we are biggest educator in Finland in business. We are biggest educator in Finland in IT. We are biggest educator in Finland in hospitality. We are a very small journalism educator. We are the only educator in management assistant training, and we are the biggest educator in sports. So in our disciplines that we run, we are big, but then please notice we don't have any engineering programs, neither do we have any social sciences. So our offering is very much circulating around business, and then journalism and sports and vocational teacher education are in a way exceptions from that. But you could say that we are a big business school, and a big share of our students take a bachelor degree at us, which is about 90% of our programs are bachelor programs, and only 10% are master programs. And when I look at the local Helsinki universities, Aalto University and University of Helsinki, they have lots of Haaga-Helia bachelor graduates who then continue to master programs there. You may know that in a University of Applied Sciences, we do have only bachelor master programs, no doctoral programs at all, and also bachelor program, master program that you take with us, you have to work minimum of 2 years after your bachelor degree before you can enter a master's program. Therefore, we have quite a lot of students who actually take a bachelor program at the University of Applied Sciences, and then they decide to go to a scientific university and take the master's degree because they can continue directly. So having this 2-year working thing is of course practically good, but it also causes some challenges. Well, this all about Haaga-Helia. I have been president for 6 years. Before that, I was a vice president, so I have been working from the very beginning, and I like my work very much. And I noticed that we have university representatives. If you ever have any plans to come to Finland, this is a standing invitation, so please be in touch, and when it's possible again to meet, so you're always welcome to visit us in our premises in Helsinki. But now let's jump into the topic, and we start with the International Forum number 1. So this forum for the international policies in higher education and research, I call it with a shorter name, International Forum 1. So the mandate for this forum was 1st of January 2018 and 31st of December 2019, a 2-year period. It was appointed by the Minister of Education and Culture, And the background was actually were the reasons that I already mentioned. Education is important, internationalization is important, and the future of Finland is totally dependent on internationalization and education. It was also decided that regardless the fact that ministry was active in this issue, it was decided that they wanted to have a external chairperson not working at the ministry, and therefore they suggested that maybe one of the presidents, either from universities or universities of applied sciences, would take over. And I was contacted, and of course I agreed. I felt it as a great honor to be part of this process. Throughout my career, I have been speaking in favor of internationalization, and then also I have been speaking very much in public about the importance of languages and studying different languages. And Haaga-Heili actually provides a quite broad selection of languages to our students. We created a secretariat, and that was mainly run by the ministry people and specialists from the Finnish National Agency for Education. And then important thing is that in the international forum there was a quite broad representation, and we felt from the very beginning that it's really important to bring together people with different backgrounds. So we had a representation, of course, from the Ministry of Education and Culture, from universities and from universities of applied sciences. Students were represented through their student unions. We had representation from the Ministry for Foreign Affairs, from national international networks, and the Ministry of Employment and Economy was represented, research institutions, Fulbright Finland, and Business Finland. So we had a very broad representation from the very beginning. I will later come back to this, but this was so good to have a broad representation. However, the challenge is that if I kind of use a little symbolism here, so usually people who can sing take part at singing classes. So the challenge from the very beginning, and we still are dealing with this, is that most people who took part in this work were very positive to internationalization. And we in a way supported each other, but it would have been good to have some critical voices as well. So there is work to do, but it's quite clear that if you ever consider of establishing a forum like this, it's really important, and it really goes through the society, and there is a broad representation. During these 2 years, the whole forum had altogether 8 meetings, so everybody was taking part. That practically meant that we were something around 60 people in a meeting. Our secretariat, who prepared these bigger meetings, had altogether 21 meetings. So you say practically every month a lengthy 2-3 hour meeting. We had one quite popular open seminar, which was towards the end of our mandate. And then, of course, we, between the meetings, quite active discussion in our own discussion platform. And then, of course, as always in academic world, we also produced a final publication as the work was kind of finalized. So quite active process, 2 years, 8 big meetings, 21 secretariat meetings, one seminar, and a publication. So we did quite a lot of things during those 2 years. As chairperson, I have to say that I did not feel that it was a stressful thing. I think it worked quite smooth, and one reason for this may be that we actually all had a quite similar perception about the importance of internationalization. Let's now move on to the next slide. The forum had 4 major tasks, and these tasks were established by the Ministry of Education and Culture. The first task was to monitor the implementation of international policies in higher education. I know that yesterday Tina from the Ministry of Education told you about different things that have been done in Finland in favor of internationalization. So our task was to monitor how those plans and white papers and so have been realized. The second task was to define the target level and indicators for internationalization for the year 2025. Turned out to be a very difficult task. The third task was to facilitate the flow of information within different operators. And you could say that already the fact that we had this forum already eased up the flow of information. So it turned out that already the fact that we have and had a international forum made the flow of information better. It already having the thing was a good thing. And then finally, the fourth task was to act as an extended support group for Team Finland Knowledge Network. As you know, Team Finland, as we call it, has included education and research as part of its activities. This has not been the tradition, this has not been in our history, but nowadays it's quite obvious that all our embassies and representations all over the world, they are also dealing with education and research. Then if we go on, the next slide, we came up with several recommendations, and I will very briefly comment on them. But at the end of this 2-year process, we came up with, I think maybe there were 14 or 15 altogether. I have to check how many they are actually. So the first recommendation was that Finland wants to define itself as the country of high quality education. People know about the PISA research, but people don't know about the university education and the University of Applied Sciences education. Neither do they do about the research. And therefore, our recommendation was that education, research and innovation should be central in Finland's country image. Not only that we mention it, but we will emphasize the level of and the positive results of our education and research system. Secondly, we felt that we have to speed up the Finnish knowledge export. Finland is known as a country of good education, but the fact is that we have not really been exporting Finnish education. One reason for this is that education has traditionally been for free in Finland. So we have not really had the real possibility to sell our education. Well, this was changed some years ago, and nowadays those students who come outside of the EU area to our international students, they have to pay, and that also brought with it the possibility to take fees from international students and create business. However, the fees are still on a quite moderate level, and we still have universities where you actually pay a fee, but then if you are doing well in your studies, you receive most of the money back. So we are, in a way, you could say that we are charging, but we still have lots of universities and University of Applied Sciences where majority of the money is returned to the students. This has not been the idea with when the fees were made possible, but this is the fact how it is at the moment. That will change though, but it will take some time. But in order to speed up this Finnish knowledge export, we felt that there is a need for cross-sectoral cooperation. And it's quite obvious that education and research is very important as we attract more people to Finland. So the major motive for Finland to attract students to Finland is actually to attract them to stay in Finland. So we don't only want people coming to Finland and take a degree and disappear. We actually, the country policy is that we want them to study in Finland, and after that we want them to stay in Finland. And this is a very hot topic because Finland has traditionally and historically, we have not had the tradition of having lots of foreigners living. We are one of the countries where the immigration policies have been extremely tough. And now we are in a situation that we actually need skillful people, and most people understand that our future is totally dependent on the fact that we need more people and more talents to Finland. Our third recommendation goes hand in hand with this that I just said, simplifying the immigration processes for students and researchers and labor. Our one practical recommendation was some kind of cross-sectoral welcome package, gather all information how to live in Finland, about the Finnish culture and so on in one package. And then also our recommendation was that once a foreign student graduates in Finland, he or she would receive automatically a residence permit. We have gone into this direction, and now they receive a permit for several years, but not so that it would be forever. But I think we started the process, and it looks quite good. It's developing quite okay at the moment as well. And so studying in Finland would open up for residence permits. We also discussed marketing. And we suggested that it would be very important to have one hashtag that we chose as Finland Works, and also common materials in Finland Toolbox, because we noticed that you can receive a lot of material of Finland, but they are in several different places. There is not one single place where you have fact material about Finland and how to come to Finland and how to study in Finland and so on. So we wanted that to be developed. Let's move on to the next slide, Kenne. We also proposed the establishing of Team Finland Knowledge Network, and this has developed quite rapidly after the forum. We were not the only ones who suggested that, but we in a way supported the idea that Finland would have a network of representatives all over the world. So that was in order to strengthen the cooperation with the network on all levels. Then we also suggested that we should not forget those people who have been studying in Finland, who have worked in Finland and expatriates. And we suggested that we should be more active in building the alumni networks among those people who have been in Finland, because they are fantastic ambassadors. And there has been a tendency that once they leave Finland, they in a way are forgotten. And I think this applies to Georgia very much as well, that you have a huge network of people who have some kind of connection, even family connection to Georgia, and they are the great ambassadors of your country. So I think there is a tendency that we forget those people. We know that they exist, but we don't really do anything in order to integrate them to our country, even though they are not living in the country. Then, of course, it's quite obvious that responsibility and sustainability is important. We had altogether 4 suggestions and recommendations regarding responsibility and sustainability. First of all, we suggested that always when the universities and universities of applied sciences discuss with the ministry in higher education institution discussions, internationalization should be an element that we discuss. It would be an essential part of our discussions. Secondly, we suggested that all programs in Finland, regardless discipline, regardless the field, regardless the geographical area, they would have or they should have international elements in programs. We also recommended that Finnish language should be taught to all international students, because learning at least the basics of this very difficult language makes it easier for the students to work in Finland, and maybe it increases the probability for them to stay in Finland after their studies. And also hand in hand, we suggested that once the international students have their internships, they should mainly be carried out in Finland. So we in a way suggested that we have several activities that all target at keeping those people in Finland during their study time and also after their study time. So you understand that essential part of our recommendation are actually looking at keeping international talents in Finland, not losing them after their studies. And then we also had a recommendation about the future of the International Forum, and we definitely felt that this 2-year period had been a really positive thing, and there definitely should be a next one. And based on this recommendation, the decision was made that we established the International Forum #1. And our suggestion was that the Forum 2 would follow up the recommendations through events and through a digital platform, and the ministry felt in a very same way, and that was the basis for the second forum. However, before I jump into the second forum, let me just go to the indicators, which was the difficult, very difficult part. And if there is one part that we were not totally happy after the first forum, maybe it was this indicator part. First of all, it was very difficult to define what kind of indicators are important. Here are some examples of our major suggestions. First of all, we could not agree on a figure what should be the employment rate, and you all understand that employment rate actually is quite difficult to calculate, because there are different types of employments. But finally, we actually agreed upon that our recommendation is that the international graduates' employment rate should be identical with the Finnish rate of employment. So there would not be any difference regardless if you are a Finn or a foreign regarding your employment rate. We also came up with the recommendation that the share of foreign staff in universities should be 15% and in 10% in universities of applied sciences. We are now somewhere around 12% and 8%, so we are quite close to that. But that was also a long discussion. But we need expatriates who come to Finland who are real foreigners, so to say. We also recommended that international competencies should be incorporated to all programs. This goes hand in hand with the previous recommendation that I already mentioned. And then we also stated that global and sustainability goals should be defined in all universities and universities of applied sciences strategies. We could not agree exactly what kind of goals. So we only stated that they have to exist. So it's up to a single university how they then define their global and sustainability goals. This area has been quite active in Finland, and most of the Finnish universities and University of Applied Sciences actually have a common goal that we would be carbon oxide neutral by the year 2035. So we have lots of cooperation among the universities in this area, and we have noticed that our applicants actually ask questions about sustainability and the climate approaches that we have. And then the longest discussion we actually had around the number of international students and researchers, and we could not agree on the exact figure, and therefore we only stated that there should be an increase. Later, the ministry has come up with precise numbers, and we now we already have a number, which is actually would double the number of international students. But during these years, 2018 and 2019, we only could agree upon that there should be an increase, and that increase should be stated in every single strategy of every single University of Applied Sciences. So in that area we had lots of work to do, but luckily this specific number now exists, and we have a clear target number in Finland, and I'm sure that Tiina mentioned that yesterday. And then if we jump to the next slide, Kenneth, there are certain lessons that we learned from the first international forum. First of all, as I already said, broad-based forum is definitely needed. It definitely is needed, and it's also very important that it's cross-sectoral by nature. So that's vital that there is a cross-sectoral approach. I also already said that there were too few critical voices, and this my symbolic expression is here as well. So it would have been good to have also people who actually are against internationalization. Like in Finland, we have actually one political party that is totally against immigration, and that party has support around 15%, quite loud minority, but nevertheless one has to listen to them, one has to be able to discuss with them, and one has to be able to find the solutions that are doable in the society. We also noticed that in the forum we had too few expatriates, so there were mainly Finns, if I say white Finns mainly discussing the internationalization, and we have tried to correct this during the forum too. We also noticed that as we all actually are quite positive to internationalization, it's very easy to talk positively about the internationalization and support each other, but not really coming up with pragmatic suggestions and solutions. So I feel that one of the toughest jobs is to come up with practical things that we really are ready to do and that we can do in the society. And then I was very lucky. I had a fantastic secretariat, fantastic professionals working in the secretariat, and the role of secretariat is crucial because there are very broad and even some philosophic discussions, and then at the end of the day the secretariat is the instance that combines bits and pieces. So it's really important to choose the right kind of people to the secretariat who are capable of analyzing this huge load of data and then kind of putting it together to a report or to a seminar. So this was, let's jump to my last slide. This is remind you the mission of Haga-Helia, once more, a little bit marketing in between, but this was the forum number 1. If it's okay for you, I will now run the Anna's presentation, which represents the next stage, the continuation from this starting 2020. And then we can take the discussion and questions after that. Is that, Sofia, okay like this?
Sounds good like that.
Yeah,
Just as you think is the best.
Yeah,
that's the way we operate.
So bear with me. I turn into my female role, and this is a presentation from Anna. She sent her warm regards and was really sorry for not being able to speak. And this is her presentation. So I'm not even trying to get the credit of it, but let me just make the presentation. So please, let's jump to the next slide. So the organization of this second forum is quite similar with the first international forum. We have steering committee, and they kind of decide how it's proceeded, and we also have a secretariat that actually is the same thing, and we have divided the work into 4 categories. The first subgroup is the country branding, which has directly with the image of Finland and the role of education and culture to do. The second subgroup is international higher education and research community. We are dealing with the internationalization of single universities and single universities of applied sciences and research institutions. The third subgroup is Finnish knowledge and education export, as it's considered to be important in the future. And then the fourth subgroup is globally responsible funding program. So we are not only talking about global responsibility in general, but we are trying to develop some kind of funding program and a system for that. And these subgroups are based on some kind of situation analysis of the already existing policies, and also they are based on recommendations that came from the first excuse me, from the first international forum. So this is a very logical continuation from the first group. I'm a member of the steering committee, but Anna is chairing this second international forum, and there has been a very easy and smooth handover. And in the steering committee, we have several people who were active also and were members of the secretariat of the first international forum. So there is also a kind of very smooth transfer from the first international forum to the second one. Let's go to the next slide. What we have done so far, I have we have identified 6 stages. We started our activities in April, in the middle of the pandemic. We organized ourselves, we defined the objectives, and we created the subgroups. And every subgroup has a responsible leader who is in charge of that subgroup, and they have their own meetings and they have their own way of keeping in touch with each other. And as we meet, they always report what they have been doing, what are the plans, and then steering committee has a possibility to have an impact on how the work proceeds. Our first session was as said in April, and our second session was in October. And as you can see from here, we are practically talking about 3 to 4. In the first forum, we had about 4 meetings per year, but here we have now been running with 3 meetings per year. In our second session in October 2020, the main theme was funding instruments for developing internationalization. And we had specialists giving presentations, and we had a group work around that theme. And of course, we also went through all other subgroups as well. So always when we meet, we receive an overview how all subgroups are working, but there is always one topic that is kind of central for that specific session. Our third session was in November, only a month later, and the main theme was country branding, and again same thing, that we received an overview of preparation of strategic funding instrument for internationalization, and then we received an overview of subgroups work. This year, 2021, we had our first session in February, and there we discussed the general situation of internationalization in higher education and research. So it was more like a general discussion, and again we received an overview of all subgroups. And then in April 2021, this year, we had the global responsibility as the main theme, and again same issue. Typically our meeting is about 3 hours. Out of that, maybe 1.5 hours is presentations and food for thought, so to say, and usually half of the time is working, some kind of workshop or open discussion or anything. And we have noticed that it's very important to give a possibility for people to speak with each other. And of course, during the pandemic, this has been a challenge, because it would be easier to sit around a round table and have a discussion, but we have done this digitally. Actually, all meetings have taken place digitally so far. And then our latest session was a couple of weeks ago, and that was our International Forum Summer Seminar, and the main topic was inclusion. And we had a fantastic presentations, and we have very interesting tracks around that theme, and it really worked out well, and it was well prepared. And I think we already now have received lots of material for potential recommendations and suggestions for the future work. So this is how it looks at the moment, and the work is going on, and we have still 1 year to go with this second forum. Let's now jump to the next slide. Here Anna has gathered some lessons that we have learned already at this stage. One thing that is already I noticed and mentioned in my presentation was the representation and diversity. At its best, valued network of networks brings together different actors and organizations, and therefore there is always the challenge that we grow too big and we are not diverse enough. So we are still struggling with the fact that we white Finns are discussing the internationalization, so we need diversity, and we have tried to increase it, but it's not very easy. And this has a little bit with the language to do as well, because it feels strange to have 50 Finns and maybe 2 foreigners, which kind of makes the situation so that we all speak English. And when you are discussing with your second language, the discussion is not totally on the same level. But despite this challenge, most of our discussions have been in English. But this is an issue that one has to think how to do it. And in ideal situation would be that we would have foreigners who already understand a little bit of Finnish so that they could follow. But this is an instant issue, and I can tell you that this is an issue in my university as well, where you think that we have 640 people. Out of those at the moment we have seven people who don't speak Finnish, and that 7 makes that when we have a holistic meeting, the common language is English, which many people feel that is this right. So you understand that it's not easy to make that kind of decisions. And then objectives, and regarding objectives and organization, it's very important that we have clear and concrete objectives, and they have to be tied to national level policy work. So we don't want to come with ideas that go against ministry guidelines, ministry strategies, and so on. So therefore, it's very important that it's very open dialogue between the International Forum and with the National Agency for Education and with the industry. And then also regarding the subgroups, they have to be well structured and they have to be clearly organized. And then the steering committee and secretariat has to challenge the subgroups in order to receive pragmatic solutions and ideas, because the discussion can go on forever, but the difficult part is then to kind of press out the final diamond, what they really mean and what they want to achieve. So this pragmatic approach is emphasized by Anna as well, and I also mentioned this in my recommendations and comments. And work is going on quite well. This second international forum is chaired by president of the Turku University, a scientific university. So he has taken it over after me, and he's doing a very good job, and the things are proceeding as planned. Let's look at this last slide. I think it was a thanks slide, but the important thing is that Anna has even produced a thank you in the Georgian language, which I have to say that I do not command, but hopefully it's right written, and lots of anyhow greetings from Anna, and she was really, as said, sad that she couldn't join us. But ladies and gentlemen, now have been talking for a long time. I hope that you have not fallen to sleep, and if you still are awake, you have a possibility for some questions or comments. I'm very happy to try to answer those. So please, I now leave the floor to Sofia, who can then divide possibilities to. So Sofia, please.
Yes, thank you, Teemu, and thanks a lot for both of taking over from Anna's presentation, and thank you for your own presentation as well. I think these two together, the presentation, they summed up, at least in my opinion, very kind of realistically and also brilliantly the work and organization of these forums, and they were nicely tied up together, and I, at least being involved in the work of the forums, could identify these things. For example, that what were the most important lessons learned from the first forum, and what really has been taken better care of when it comes in the second phase of the forum. And one thing that you mentioned quite at the last part is the organization of the subgroups, and that was probably one of the most important notions, as you said, from the first forum, that there needs to be a very clear kind of target setting for the subgroups in order for them to be able in the first part to produce clear outputs, and this clearly has improved in the second phase. But something that crossed my mind is, while you were talking, that one thing that actually the pandemic might have improved when it comes to the work of the subgroup is that they are now obviously all of them organized in digital format, and this has made it so much easier for people and different stakeholders all over Finland, different Finnish universities of applied sciences, to take part in the meetings. And it crossed my mind that was actually a challenge in the first forum, that we tried to organize the work of the subgroups in physical meetings, and this was one clear kind of obstacle in the formulation of the work, and probably something that we will continue in this digital format even after the pandemic. But yes, let's go
Sofia, can I pick? There are 3 questions in the comments. Can I pick them directly from there? Is it okay for you?
I was just about to say that while I was talking, I'm reading the comments, and that was actually how we did yesterday as well, that as you have access to the comments, it's probably easiest that you just, if you feel that...
If I briefly comment, I can see at least 3 questions here. And yes. First of all, Ketevan, thank you very much for a very difficult question. But this, what you ask is exactly what we discussed in Finland. You state that the introduction of fees. So you are wondering if the introduction of fees limits the pool of possible applicants, and if it does it to such extent that your other goals, diversity, and are kind of harassed. And that is a very good question. This is exactly the discussion that we had in Finland, and those people who were against student fees stated like this. How it turned out was that the fact is that once the fees were introduced, the applicant levels went drastically down, and now they have come back not exactly to the same level, but almost to the same level that used to be. So it seems to me, and my sincere feeling is that we had a drop, but now we have overcome with that. And what made it easier to make the decision to introduce the fees was that there are not too many countries in the world who are offering education for free. And in Finland, it was politically decided that there has to be a very clear sponsorship program, which means that students receive, as I mentioned, lots of that money back, and in some universities they even receive almost all of the money back. But the typical level is that 20 to 40% of the fees are returned to the students. So at the moment we are quite okay with that, and there has not been a situation that we would not receive talents. And then
thank you very much.
Yes, and one maybe the bigger reason for not coming to Finland is that the living cost in Finland is quite high. So not only that you have to think about the fee, but you also have to think about leasing an apartment and this kind of practical. Finland is an expensive country, which we are aware of. So this is how it looks. Then we have the second question from Tamar.
Do you mind me interrupting? There is a continuation. No. Yeah, in Ketevan's questions at the end, like how do you feel if introducing the student fees has affected to the other goals such as diversity or equity or any other goals, I assume also when it comes to the policies?
I would say that it actually has affected in a positive way. Because previously we had people who wanted to enter Finland for other reasons than studying. And one of them is Schengen visa. So we had other reasons than studying. So in a way you could say that those who nowadays send in applications, they are of better quality from the studies point of view than the previous ones. We even had factories, so-called factories in Africa producing kind of mass documents before we had these fees. So from the university point of view, the situation is more clear now because we have the fee. Then the second question is from Tamar, and your question is that what were the most visible achievements of internationalization strategy that was observed as a result of the monitoring? I would say that all ministry guidelines that we have received after the first international forum actually follow totally our line of thought. And these recommendations to double the number of international students actually is exactly, it was kind of prepared by us, and then the ministry made the final work. So we can proudly take lots of credit for the present national goals for internationalization. They are totally based on our thinking. I also feel that the fact that we had a quite broad approach to internationalization has been very good for the Finnish society. And I think we can speak it and we can discuss it more openly than before. So there is a practical implication and more like a symbolic implication. And then we have Tamar, another Tamar. Tamar seems to be a typical name in Georgia. Do you have a strategy how to deal with the involvement of alumni in the internationalization process? This is a good question, and my answer is unfortunately not, because alumni relations are always university specific. But if you ask Haaga-Helia, so yes, the answer is yes. We have a very clear strategy how we try to tie our graduates to Haaga-Helia, because we have a great interest on being in touch with them in order to maybe sell or provide additional education in the future, because we all understand that nowadays when you graduate, your degree is valid only for 5, 6 years, and then you should add on something, not a full degree, but some elements have to be kind of. So we feel a potential for future business in this area, and business meaning either money or intellectual capacity, so to say. Introduction of international competencies in study programs. Could you please give a couple of examples? International competencies meaning language training, information about international and foreign cultures, more cultural knowledge, cases not only from the Finnish market but from the international market. For instance, in law, not only the Finnish law but international law as well. So whatever you study, you always have a international approach. For instance, in accounting, we previously had only the Finnish accounting system, and Finnish regulations were discussed. Nowadays, we also discuss international demands and what, for instance, EU requires and so on. So in whatever you study, always an international approach, not a national approach. And this is a big change, because at the end of the day, the single teachers and lecturers and professors are in charge. So maybe that was an answer to that.
Yeah, and if you don't mind me continuing to that, it crossed my mind that when it comes to these international competencies, what we were and have been talking a lot in the forum is that there was the point where there was a lot of discussion on getting more international talents to Finland, and obviously that is important and keeps being important. But in parallel to that aim, we need to make sure that all the Finnish graduates from higher education, that all these students, they have necessary skills to cope and to operate and work in a global world and work environment and global markets and so on. And that is one point where this aspect is linked to, that we need to ensure these international competencies for each graduate and make sure that each degree has elements like Teemu was just saying that bring these competencies to students.
Here is also again from Tamar this question that how do we communicate, and this is a very good question, and I would say that this was also a headache for us, because of course we had our website, but to website go only people who are interested. So what we did, we tried to provoke, and we had some articles in the leading newspapers and in opinion documents and stuff like that. But this is a challenge, and I think that in this second forum we try to use some other methods, and even up to using mass media to support. But this is a challenge, and I cannot say that I have a solution to this, because again, people who are interested, they follow these websites, and they follow, if we write an article, only certain people read that article. If it's an academic article, it's only read by academic people. So this is a challenge, and we don't yet have a full answer to this, that when you talk about the large, the society as a whole. So I think that we should use mass media in order to receive a support, and maybe we actually should have a partner from mass media to support. This is a challenge and we don't have a solution to this, to be quite honest. Then we have Salom. Within International Forum, do you cooperate with any think tanks, expert groups working on higher education? Yes, we are, and our approach is that we are extremely open. We are not a closed club. So every single session that we have, we invite new people and new organizations. So and we spread the word, so to say, that can take part in our discussions. And then you ask about the international rankings. International rankings are not, by tradition and history, not very important in Finland. We follow them, we discuss them, but at least looking our national students, they are not behind the decisions. People usually choose the university or University of Applied Sciences by the geographical location, and then there may be a program that they are interested at. But in Finland, we don't have a very strong tradition in international rankings. Of course, our universities, scientific universities, follow them and communicate about them in an international market, but to our national students, they don't have that big importance. But I would say that the importance of them is increasing, even for domestic. But at the moment, they still are quite not that important. Have you investigated the role of foreign students and staff members in internationalization at home practices? Nino, this is also a good question. We have done some research and we have tried to involve people who have come to Finland and kind of get them to talk about their experiences, and there is some formal research as well and the role of them in our universities and University of Applied Sciences. So there is some evidence that we only can increase the level of internationalization if we increase the number of real foreign actors, and we have had and have cooperation with the research institutions. So there are several projects circulating around this area. Now that was, I think that I briefly now answered those, but please feel free, Sofia, take the floor again.
Thank you, Teemu. And I'm also scrolling the questions, and it seems to me that you very systematically managed to go and answer all of these questions. And how about Liika?
Without typing it, because I'm sorry, I'm not very comfortable with typing. You mentioned that one of the tasks of this forum was elaboration of target level and indicators. The first. So they were not incorporated in the policy document, if I understood it correctly. And then how often are you monitoring these indicators? How often are you changing them? So do you have a kind of protocol, a timeline for it? Or it is kind of result driven, so you see if the indicators are met, then you set new ones. So how this works? Thank you.
Yeah. This is Liika. This is an excellent question, and the relationship between the ministry and universities is actually based on a 10-year strategy that has been split into two. So now all universities and Universities of Applied Sciences are dealing with the strategy period 21-25. And we already have some thoughts, and we already have discussed with the ministry actually the 10-year strategy period 21-30. But you could the practical answer to the question is that we always think in 5-year blocks. So now we have and our task was to come up with indicators for the year 25. The reason for that was that during those years 18 and 19, the ministry was thinking what would be the target level for the 25. So it's always a 5-year period, and practically we have a negotiations once a year with the ministry when we sit down, and then Haaga-Helia tells what have been doing, what are the plans, and we also have a formal written agreement, which is about 5-page document where we state certain things. We state the number of graduates for which we receive money and so on. Also, the money is stated, how much we receive annually from the ministry. So it's a written document. And actually, whatever I do at Haaga-Helia, it has to be totally online with this agreement that is signed both by the ministry and by myself and the chairman of our board. So we think in 5-year slots, and you may know that in Finland we have a quite I would say quite technocratic finance system. All our money is based on results, and most of the results are directly dealing with academic results, number of graduates, a number of students who proceed normally, publications, quality, and so on. There are altogether 11 parameters. Traditionally, the only internationalization parameter was the number of ingoing and outgoing students. And now we are in the process of thinking that what could be a parameter that would be a broader, a more holistic parameter. And now we are more and more thinking that, and this is the future, what's the impact of a university or University of Applied Sciences attracting people to Finland and getting them to stay in Finland. This is not true at the moment, but I'm quite sure that if we would meet in 5 years of time, we would have some kind of parameter calculating that. But yes, we think in 5-year blocks, and we have a full autonomy. But however, the general guidelines are always agreed with the ministry, and that's stated in a written 4- or 5-page document. So it's a really important document for me.
Thank you. That was very interesting. But I have another additional question. I mean,
yes.
It's maybe easy to follow, let's say, quantitative data when it comes to checking indicators. But you also had this international competencies in programs, which I was asking before. It is also one of the indicators. So how you check it if the university is following these recommendations, or do you rely on program accreditation? I mean, it's about the data collection system now. It's quite technical questions. So do you rely on program accreditation data, or are universities kind of issuing reports? So who is checking if these indicators are met, not quantitatives?
Yeah, this is one of the headaches that we always have, that most of the things actually they have to be of high quality and they have to be qualitative. And by tradition, these kind of issues are not covered by agreements. However, what we do is that in that document that I mentioned, there are several things that are so-called on or off measurements. For instance, if I say just one example, in the previous document, it was stated that all universities have to have a plan for inclusion and equality. And no one is looking what kind of plan it is, but you have to have it. So several parameters are simply on off. You just have to have it. And this is the situation at the moment. No one has come up with a fantastic system how to measure the qualitative stuff. So at the moment we have clear quantitative parameters, and then we have several on-off measurements, and many activities that we do in internationalization belong to this on-off category at the moment. So this has been the best solution so far. It's not an ideal solution, but this is a situation at this moment.
And if there are no further questions, may I also ask another one? Sorry.
Go ahead, Lika.
Go ahead.
Well, we learned yesterday that it's a kind of very much bottom-up process. Yeah, so universities are main actors in defining the policies, the strategies, and whatever, which I find perfect. But again, I had an impression that universities are more or less expected to be very international, and they have to be involved. So what, hypothetically, what if I am a small size university somewhere in the forest and actually, I mean, the institution of applied sciences maybe, and being international is not very high on my agenda. So what in that case? Is it kind of pressure from outside, from the ministry to be international? What if this institution fails because maybe because of geographical location, it's not very attractive for international students or staff and whatever. So is it kind of must to be international in this way to have international students and staff? Maybe they are international in different ways, like international research, online, whatever. So I mean, so how you get my question? So how you regulate this issue? So how much is the pressure from colleagues and from government to be international for any costs?
Yeah,
thank you.
This is a very good question, and your thinking is quite right. I would say that the pressure is most of all indirect. So no one probably would say to you that, hey, you have to close your institution because you are not international enough. But what instead would happen is that the students would not apply to you, because for students it already is so important that when they study, they have opportunity through that university, take an internship abroad or meet with foreign students. And then secondly, you would not receive the additional money that we receive from different kind of international projects, EU money and stuff like that. Because if you are not international, that means that you don't have any courses run in English, which means that you cannot receive international exchange students and stuff like that. So indirectly, it would mean that you would not have enough students, you would not receive any additional money, you would be totally dependent on the national money only, which you would die out simply. And you said somewhere in the forest. The problem in Finland is that we have several universities and University of Applied Sciences that are out in the forest, and they have a huge lack of students, because the regional politics in Finland has made it the situation so that in Helsinki metropolitan region, it's very difficult to get a study place, whereas it's quite easy to get a study place from other places. Not easy, but easier. And if I give one figure to you, that a student who graduated from high school in Helsinki last year, 2020, there was, if we calculate, there was 0.7 university places available for that person. All over the Finland, the figure is 1.2 or 1.3. So Helsinki-based students are the biggest category in almost all universities in Finland. So this is a regional thing and has to do. So if we are not international out there in the forest, you would not have applicants, and you would not receive funds. So economically, it would not be a function that would work out. But no one would probably close you down. Of course, you would probably receive some pressure from the local municipality and local companies, because they have a loud voice, and the companies are seeing universities and universities of applied sciences as very important. So you probably would get lots of pressure. It would not be accepted, and you would not be able to cooperate with them in an extent that you can do if you are international. So it's an indirect pressure, I would say.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
A very good question indeed. And yesterday, actually, Juha Ketolainen was presenting the kind of level of internationalization and the history of internationalization in Finnish higher education. And he showed this one slide where was the participation in other or in various funding programs on internationalization. And one of the slides portrayed, for example, that all the Finnish higher education institutions take part in Erasmus Plus program, for example. So they are all ECHE holders and all are annually taking part both in student and staff activities. That just as an example that even though surely the level of internationalization is different and different activities take place when it comes to it, but but there is a good level, I would say, at least when it comes to all the Finnish higher education institutions and their international activities and approach.
We in Georgia are proud that 80% of our higher education institutions are involved in Erasmus+. But again, unlike in Finland, we have a very dynamic higher education system where institutions are merging or just losing their accreditation, or they are emerging new institutions. So it's kind of complicated to follow up. For example, last year we had 2 new institutions established. So of course, they are not yet involved in Erasmus+. So it's a totally different situation. I have another question, to you, Timo. So, because you represent a university. So we've been told yesterday that universities are defining also, let's say, priority countries when it comes to internationalization. May I ask you, so how you do it at the university level? So are these heads of departments? Do you do any kind of internal surveys, research? When you're picking, let's say, your most prioritized countries for international cooperation, because then it is translated at the national level into let's kind of national strategies. So, and how often are you choosing your priority countries? And yes,
I have to say that this is something that happens on an institute level. So at Haaga-Helia, for instance, our business studies, they have a long history of working together with certain institutions and with certain countries. So it's not a centralized system. And I'm quite honest when I say that it's to great extent it's based on personal relations and people we know, institutions we know. But then entering that is actually quite easy. And somebody is in touch with Haaga-Helia, we meet, and always when we meet, we take the operative people with us. It's not internationalization office who has it's academic people who have a role in this. And then we just start doing things. And in case of Haaga-Helia, we have about 200 universities and universities of applied sciences. When we talk about Georgia, for instance, I know that we have had cooperation. Our tourism faculty has had some projects in Georgia, and then our journalism department has had fantastic programs in the freedom of press issues together with Georgian institutions and Georgian people. We actually had a seminar, and I know that there were more than 30 people from Georgia last year, a big seminar that was arranged in our premises. So there is not a formal process, and it's all based on at the end of the day, it's based on personal relations and the fact that we know an institution. This was a good question, and should we have a formal process? Probably yes, but this has worked out quite well, and we have lots of contacts and we meet with people, and quite soon we know that what kind of institutions are capable of carrying out the operative work. We are not interested in paper tigers. We are interested in operational efficiency. So that when we decide that we do something, then we do it. And if it works out, the future is full of possibilities. Out of those 200 partners, I would say that 60 are really active. So we have 140 that are, you could categorize them as paper tigers. So we have an agreement, but nothing happens. But 60 are really active. And out of those, maybe 5 or 6 that are fantastically active. So you have different categories, and it's okay to have 200, but of course we are mostly interested in projects that really are based on win-win-win. So both Finnish and foreign party, and then the student are the winners. So maybe a little bit diplomatic answer, but that's how it is. Looks like it now at the moment. Thank you for the comment. Georgia is very, very high on our list, and if there is anything that we can do together, so please don't hesitate to be in touch. Finland has feels for smaller countries, and without speaking any politics, we want to support countries that are next to a big neighbors and difficult neighbors. Talking about that, by the way, today is a very important day because Finland is in the evening. We are going to beat Russia in soccer, European Championships. We have a game and I believe to the result 2-1 for Finland. Hopefully I'm right. You may know that Finland is for the first time ever in the European Championships, and we are the only country in the world that has won all its games so far, because we have played only first time ever in the Europeans, and we beat Denmark in a very dramatic game 1-0. So tonight we're playing Russia, and my sincere thinking is that we are going to beat the bear. That politically, as you all know, is extremely difficult at the moment and very challenging, but this is not a political speech, but let's put it this way, that we have been dealing and we have to be able to deal with them, and this is a quite own discipline, so to say. But on my behalf, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for having the opportunity to speak to you. I hope that you got some understanding of what the International Forums 1 and 2 were. I wish you the best of summer, and if you ever plan to come to Finland, so please come, be in touch, and you're always welcome. And I'm also planning to return to Georgia as soon as it's possible, and maybe do some hiking, and maybe then I also will eat some fantastic Georgian food and taste your fantastic wines as well. So all the best to you, and thank you for being present. And if you fell asleep, now it's time to wake up for the next next speaker, so to say. No. So thank you, and thanks for the good luck for Finland. Hopefully I'm not too over optimistic, but we'll see how it turns out. But thank you for me, and now I give the ball to Sofia, so you can go on with the program. So on my behalf, all the best. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Teemu. And just shortly to sum up, I think very interesting presentations, good questions, good answers provided by Teemu, and very active participation. And shortly to sum up, I would say a time well spent indeed in this session. And thanking everyone of the sessions, and very warmly. And as we are approaching the time limit for this session, we will now let Teemu to continue with his other businesses. And when it comes to the rest of us, we will be coming back to this session with hearing especially points of views from people working in the subgroups of the International Forum. So there will be several stakeholders, subgroup people who are in leading positions and other positions as well. So definitely interesting for presentations left for this workshop. And we will be coming back to this team sessions, Georgian time 12:30 and Finnish time 11:30. So off we go to a well-deserved break for a half an hour. And thanks again, Teemu, a lot.
Bye-bye. Have a good summer.
A good summer.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye. Yes.
Bye.
Bye-bye.